It wasn't a color last week. Yes.
I probably didn't even notice.
Yeah, I colored it.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to the Women to Women show on the New You Nation Network. And happy March. All right, we are in the month of March. So, how you ladies doing this evening?
Doing well, doing well. How's everybody?
Good, good, good. A little tired, but good. Here, ready. Have this conversation. So, I'll get us started with introducing ourselves and what we're grateful for. So I'm Theodora Carter, certified life coach and career coach and HR consultant. And I am grateful just to be here. I am grateful for another day on this here earth. And that's what I'm grateful for. And I
Amen.
will toss it to Regina.
Yes. What I'm grateful for. I'm sorry. I am.
Introduce
I guess I'm
yourself.
grateful for. Yes, I'm
First,
sorry.
introduce.
I was getting sidetracked there for a minute. Um. Good evening. I'm also tired, and I'm also. It's a good day. It's a good day. I'm detoxing. That's probably why it is draining me.
Ah,
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
So
okay.
that's another
The,
whatever.
the the detox that you did before.
Huh? Yes. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yes. So, my name is Regina Booker, the owner of Season and Fabulous, which is a a cause to help women that's 50 and over to get unstuck, to follow their passions, dreams, goals, career changes. As we become that kind of fork in the road type, when you got to see what's happening. We've taken care of everybody, raised kids or whatever, being aunties and all of that. So and that's what that's about, to get ourselves back our passion and dreams and just peace and joy. So I am grateful for this journey I'm about to take again. Which is this whole little eating healthy and detoxing and all of that. So I got through the first day pretty well.
Yeah, I'm
all
gonna have to
right.
call you so you can
Yeah.
tell me
So
about it.
it's one more day. Now tomorrow is the hardest day for me, for my body. That's the day that, right. Oh Lord. But
Okay.
typically. But
All
that's
right.
why I'm a little drained, because you have to be um calm. And well, for me, some people can work. I don't know. I just usually take off and just sit
Oh,
and
okay.
stay kind of in a peaceful state of mind
Hmm.
when I do it.
So you kind of take like a you make it into like a nice
Kind of like
holistic,
a
right?
holistic day.
Yeah, nice.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Well,
Sheila.
good evening, everyone. My name is Sheila Isom. I am an insurance claims professional, and I am also a notary, and I am an independent consultant for Color Street, where we sell dry nail polish strips. And
Nice.
yeah, and I am grateful just to be awake right now.
Oh my God. This is gonna
So get
be
She
simple to
said,
that.
"Oh wait,
So
this is gonna
yeah,
be a good show. This is gonna be a
yeah,
good show.
yeah.
It's gonna be a good show. All right. So this is the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. And tonight we are talking about moving on. Moving on where you say? From a relationship. How long should you wait to date after a breakup? That is the question. So do you guys have like a general rule for how long someone should wait? Like, what's your thoughts on like how long someone should wait to date again? And would you say that how you feel about it now would have been different from how you felt about it when you were younger?
Well, the answer to that second question is no. I still feel the same way today as I have in the past.
Okay.
I My personal thought is um, whether it was an acrimonious breakup or very mutual and understanding and no hard feelings kind of thing. We just gonna move on, and we may even be friends kind of breakup. I think that there's still a time for healing.
Mm.
There's a time for healing, and there's a time for um, taking self care, right?
Okay.
Take care of your heart and your head. So
Mm.
you can't do that when you jump from one relationship to another, because for the most part you're probably getting into a new relationship if for the wrong reasons.
Mm.
I know that there are lots of people out there who just want companionship, not necessarily thinking to themselves that that's what they need. But
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know yourself, then you don't know what you need. And that's a perfect opportunity to take the time to know yourself so that you can become a better person for
Mm.
the next relationship.
Mm. Yeah, I agree, especially and I also feel like it depends on, like, one of the things you said, right? It could be an amicable breakup, or it could be, one that wasn't so great. And so I think that also probably factors into the time you might want to take in between, because I think everybody is different, right?
Yes.
You know, I would honestly say, like, when I was younger, it was like, whatever, 30 days, I'm good, right? Like, I'm over it. And then I think as I got, older, right, it probably, it, like, for me, it was like, okay, maybe you just need to take some time to bounce back. But I will say, there was one relationship that I needed to really take time to bounce back. Right. So I think it also depends on the how the breakup is,
Mm-hmm.
you know. I think, but yeah. What say you, Regina Booker?
Uh, I think it takes time, like what you guys said, healing, um, depending on what type of relationship. Even if it was a friendly, you know, a friendly relationship where it wasn't a bad breakup. I think you still need time to just settle in and not jump back out there. That's just my opinion. Now,
Mhm.
I've seen people that just jump right into it, but it's just causing, to me, drama and trauma.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah,
and
I
I've
definitely
seen
feel.
it. Yeah, I've
Yeah.
seen it, and as a matter of fact, I have a really good friend that has done that, and I've asked her why did she do it, and she says, "Well, if I get out of this, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna be by myself." I don't know if it's a thing of not wanting to be by yourself.
Hmm.
Sometimes that's it. I just can't be by myself. Kind of like sleeping with the TV on all night type of
Hmm.
thing. You just got to have um, a relationship. My dad was like that. Once my mom and dad separated, I didn't realize that until later on. He just had to have a wife. He just
Hmm.
had to have a wife.
But I do feel like, and not to be a stereotype, right? But I do feel like men tend to be able to move on quicker than women. Some men are able
Yeah.
to, like, you know, process it, get over, and move on.
Mhm.
I just feel like, especially if the relationship didn't end well, right? That, sometimes you have to take time just to, like, really get yourself together. And what's the song Erica Badu have? So you don't take baggage from one relationship to
Mhm.
the next
Yep. Yep.
relationship, right? Because I think that's the other thing, right? Is that you sometimes will go into a relationship and now your guard is up. Like I know for me for a long time, um, you know, back in my 30s, 20s, like my guard used to be like I always had this little barrier, right? And always looking for the next shoe to drop, right? But then staying in stuff because you just like you said, you just trying to hold on to a relationship. So I think there's so many dynamics to it. But I also know people who they leave one relationship, meet somebody else, they're just like,
Yeah.
right? So
And they have to unpack all that, even though they say they're okay, but somewhere down there is stemming them to do that. So they haven't gotten to the root of the cause of why I got to keep doing this, you know.
yeah,
But that's work that you have to do on yourself.
Well,
I
yeah.
think
So
yeah,
And
definitely.
I also think it's like you need to examine why is it that you feel you need to be in a relationship. And again, I mean, I love being in a relationship, but I also knew that it was important for me to take time for me after breaking up with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because number one, it's so you're so used to being a couple, and now it's you're just one, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's an adjustment because you still think about all the things that the two of you used to do together, the TV shows that you may have watched, the parks that as you're driving by it, this is where we used to go and just hang out and stuff like that, or that was the mall that we used to go window shopping. Oh, this was our favorite restaurant. This was our favorite takeout spot, so there are going to be constant reminders of what your life was like as the other half of a couple. Now you
Mm-hmm.
have to navigate the world by yourself, right?
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily have to deal with how long you were even in a relationship, because you can be in a relationship, that others may see as a short period of time,
Mm-hmm.
but your relationship could have been very, very intense, you
Yeah.
know? So those are some things that you have to get beyond, and you can't get beyond those when you immediately are looking for the next person.
But that's a good point you made because people will be like, "Oh, you was only with this person for this amount of time or whatever." But sometimes it's the quality of time, right, and not the quantity of time. And so,
Absolutely.
like you said, right, it could have been a very intense relationship, and the person is like, "Oh my God, what am I going to do?" But I know. When was it? I don't know. It's probably like years ago. I know I took like intentionally like 2 years. I was like, like I would talk to people or whatever, but I was like, I'm gonna just start doing things by myself, right? Going to the movies by myself, hanging out by myself, spending time by myself, right? And just getting to know myself, but also figuring out like what it is that I really want, right? In a mate, right? And then I dated someone that I thought had everything I really wanted, but that's a whole nother show topic. But but I think during that time frame was good. But then when someone was interested, I was like, I don't know if I want to date. I'm kind of having a good time by myself,
Right. Right.
right? But it was good because when I entered into the relationship, right, it was good. But I realized after that relationship that I still needed to do some work because once I was in that relationship, I was like in that relationship, right? So, but the crazy thing is, like how you said you stay friends. I don't really stay friends with guy. I think I stayed friends with one guy that and we weren't even in a relationship. We kicked it for like 5 years. People thought we were in a relationship, but we was just kicking it. But we were friends, right? And so and I think the reason I stayed friends with him was because he was upfront about what he wanted and what he didn't want. So we went into it
Mm.
knowing like there was no lying, no dishonesty, all of that. It was just straight up. So, but yeah. So what are some signs? Like you said, Regina, you said you had a friend that used to do it. So what were some signs that you saw like that she had like patterns of doing it?
because the guy she's with is the same type of guy that she left. So it's the same drama, maybe less, not as much. The one guy was more of a verbal abuser,
Mm,
and this guy is he's not a verbal abuser, but it's the same type of patterns or
mm,
so he has insecurities, I would think, and paranoid about things. So it's kind of the same thing. So you're going from one problem to another problem, just a different way, but it's essentially the same problem. So
mhm.
when you needed to have time to just sit with yourself and um, heal and go through things, um, cut the noise out because you have to sit in silence sometimes
Yeah.
and
Mm.
and evaluate, why did I do this or what, whatever the work is to be done. Like I sat in silence before and for a month with no TV, no music, no nothing.
Mm,
I only did it once. But when I tell you that was the most healing thing I've ever done. And it
mm.
was a challenge. I think it was at church or some, I forget how I did it, but I try to do it again and I get sidetracked after a day. But I really that I will always remember that moment because I turned the radio off in the car. I came home, it was nothing but silence. And at the time I was really by myself. I mean, like my kids were an
Mm.
hour and a half away and they didn't come down, and like now the grandkids are downstairs and I'm trying to tell them to be quiet. That's why I keep going off camera. I mean, yeah, this is real life. This is us. This is our
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
But
so
it's
it,
but it's that silence, sitting in silence thing is
mhm,
kind of tough.
yeah. But it once I came out of it, I was just so relieved and just so healed and so peaceful and had so much joy. But it was a hard thing. But once I got to do it, it was fine. But I try to do it again, and I don't know. I know. I really don't know. I guess the Holy Spirit. I don't know where. Every time I try to do it again, like I say, I get sidetracked.
I mean, I can honestly be in my house with no TV on, no nothing on. But the thing is, I'm always in front of a computer. It seems like. So I think that's the main thing is like being away from
Yeah,
the
but I was working, so I did my job, and
yeah.
I didn't come home and turn on my computer.
But that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah.
for me, because I work from home, it's like I'll go from the work computer to the home
Hmm.
computer. But that does make sense. But I will honestly say I get what you're saying about your friend because I literally remember when I decided to after the last relationship, I decided to go back to therapy, and I said to one of my friends, I want to find out what's wrong with me. Right. And she was like, there's nothing wrong with you. Like she got mad. I was like, no, I'm not. I know there's nothing wrong with me as a person, but I feel like I keep ending up in the same situation. Right.
Mm.
And like, how you date the same person, like they may look different. They
Hmm.
they look different, but they're the same person. They have the same characteristics and the same attributes, right? And so I think there's something to taking time to just process, right? And I think for I'm gonna say for some women, not all, right? Also to really just sit back and be like, what was my part in this breakup, right? Because we tend to normally, especially if it don't go right, right?
Hmm.
You it's all the dude's fault, but then you got to think about what was my part in it, right? Like what were the things that I ignored, right? What were the things that I decided that I was okay with? What were all the things that I mean, I'm talking for me personally, was I accepting, right? That I shouldn't have been accepting, right? And so, and then what was like some of the red flags that I just wasn't like I was like with blinders on, right? So I think that's also something as well, but also to take that time to figure out, like you said, this is the same dude. This is the same person. It's a different person, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm still in this, like, she's still in this relationship with this person that is verbally abusive, right? Or treating her not so good, and is a different person, but the same situation. So
Yeah, because his insecurities make it so, they might have an argument and then he storms out or whatever the case may be. But I just say it's the same thing. You're just going from one, change the situation. Well, I don't know if it's called situations or whatever it's called, but it's in essence the same type of person. Because and I just lean on that person has a lot of insecurities, but the insecurity causes toxicity in the relationship.
So do you? So Sheila, you brought this up before, right? About how the time of the relationship. Like, some people feel like based on the time that you've been in a relationship should be the amount of time, right? That your waiting period. But if you was in a 20-year marriage and it ended, now you got to wait 20 years to right. That makes no sense.
That's a crazy thought process to me. That to me is right along the lines of, your wedding gift should cover the cost of the plate.
Yeah.
It's different for everybody. And again, yes, you may have been married to somebody for 20 years. How many of those 20 years was actually fulfilling?
Mm-hmm.
And there could be differences between the ending of a relationship versus the death of a significant other, because I think people have harsher opinions about when you should move on after you lost a spouse. But it's different for everybody. And you may be somebody who has been self-aware, self-loving all along. You've known your worth. Your worth was not defined by the relationship. You've known that all the time. And you might be in a position where you're like, I can stay single for a little while. That's okay. And then a few months later, that person may come along, and that could be your next person. Do you give up a potential opportunity to be happy? I would say no, as long as you've done the work on yourself, though.
Yeah.
That's what the difference is.
That's the important part, right? It's doing the work, right? I mean, and we talk a lot about that because we've all done the work for one reason or another. But I think that's an important thing. Like, just really taking some time to figure out, right? Like, are you mentally and emotionally ready for the next relationship, or just going out and date? Because the other side of it is, some people feel like, listen, at this age, I don't have time to be wasting, right? So also it's the knowing what you can tolerate, what you can't, what you're looking for, what you're gonna put up with. Because for some of us, we don't have like years to be dating someone, because tomorrow's not promised, right?
That's true, but time to, you don't have time, but then do you have time to have your peace interrupted?
Exactly.
Like,
And that's the thing.
so
That's why I'm saying you have to
you
figure
got to
out
balance
what
out
you
what's
want.
important to you.
Yeah. You have to know what's important, but you also have to know when it's okay to say, this ain't working. Right? Like, because you have some people, they'll just like, hang on, let me see how it's gonna do. You gotta know, like, 2-3 months in, this ain't working, right? And that's it.
Yeah, you can't ignore the red flags. So it's a lot of red flags that have come up, and it's best to get out, in my opinion, and then stay in it, and because you're digging a deeper hole, because then it's just gonna get comfortable. Then it's gonna be something that you're used to, and you don't feel like, because these dating streets is wild. So I don't even feel like going through it again, and so you just get stuck.
But that's the other thing. Like, talking about like this show, Gen Xers, right? Like we say, everyone is welcome, but we're talking from the perspective of Gen Xers. And I have some friends who are like, you know what? I'm cool by myself. I ain't trying to date. I'm good, right? And so you do have some people that are like, you know what? I'm good. And then you have those of us that are like, oh, we want to date, but like you said, these dating streets is not what they used to be, right? How do you think like social media? Do you think social media makes it harder for people to move on?
Yeah, because of all the social media is just a zoo. It's so much pretend and this and that, and it you don't get the real person. Um, Everyone's put on a facade. They got the mask on. Well, I shouldn't say everyone.
Mhm.
Some people.
Mhm.
So it's hard to believe. So social media, um, everything people put on there, I take it with a grain of salt because the
But
majority of
but
it.
I
So,
think it's hard to move like from a relationship. Like for me, like my block game is tight. So I will tell you
mhm.
in a minute.
But
I'm
then
blocked.
if you're stalking a person and following their page,
That's what I'm
that's
saying.
just making you worse. And then you're looking at something and they know that you're the type that's going to follow their page. So they're going to make up, it depends. Some
Mhm.
people might just move on. And if you're following them, then you're the problem. But then they know you're following them. So they're going to try to make you jealous. I mean, it's just too much.
My block game is tight. We are no longer
I
friends on social. I'm blocked. Your, your number is blocked.
know the one guy I
Your
did
social
date.
media is blocked.
Yeah. The one guy I did date, I did not want to be his friend on Facebook. And then he sent a friend request. I just wouldn't accept him. And then one time I said, "Why won't you accept?" Because I was like, Ugh. So I ended up accepting it, but I just didn't like it. I don't really. I mean, I don't know if I had a husband or something, I would like it, but during my marriage, social media wasn't that
Mhm.
popular, and then
Hmm.
you know, it once it was done, it was no need really to.
Mhm.
And my ex-husband, he wasn't even into stuff like that. He got his sister talking to him and getting him on real later on in life. Like
Mhm.
he's passed, so maybe 2 years before he passed. And he just didn't mess with it a lot. He used it really to try to find his friends,
Right.
Yeah,
and that was his choice
mhm.
of it, and he didn't get on it that much.
Yeah. That
So
was initially when I finally
yeah.
broke down and joined like Facebook. It was really because I was like, oh, connecting with friends and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like some people they do it to themselves, right? Like the relationship
Mhm.
ends, and like you said, they remain Facebook friends with the person. They're following their page.
Mhm.
They're seeing what they're doing and
Mhm.
creating their own angst, right? And so I feel
Creating a
like
story in your head is not even probably what's happening.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
but some people do. I think some people like this is a tip that I would say to some people like you probably do need to, even if you don't block the person, you probably need to like stop following them or friend them
Mhm.
as you go through your healing journey. If you feel like you have something to heal from, because like Sheila said, if it's amicable and y'all both decide it's over and you're moving on and you're gonna be friends, it may not be a problem.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on the situation and how
Mhm.
it ends, right? I
Yeah.
remember Trey saying, during the recovery room, is one tip she gave people was if you still like say you co-parenting, right? So you have no choice but to
Mhm.
Right.
communicate with that
Right.
person. But the way to control that, she would say, is communicate via email, right? Because you're able to control when you look at your emails, when you respond to the person versus when giving somebody the ability to call you or text you, right? Whenever they feel like it. And I was like, oh, I never thought about that. Right. Because she was like, that way y'all communicate via email, you're gonna go in and check your email maybe once a day or have it often, but it's not like it's that immediate you getting a text or you're getting a phone call from someone that might if trigger you if that is the space that you're in.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I do remember that.
But I have to say, like, when it comes to this topic, because there are a lot of famous people that we can probably name.
Oh,
But
Jesus.
for me, because again, it gets back to what Regina was talking about too, is that you'll find yourself in the same situation over and over and over again. And I'm just gonna say it. Every time J-Lo gets out of a relationship,
Oh, Jesus, yes.
I just say to myself, please, please just sit down. Sit down and be still by yourself for a little while and discover the wonderful person that you are. Because you can't do that when you're jumping from relationship to relationship.
But didn't she say something like like she admitted that she just can't be by herself or something?
She
Or was
I
that
think
has.
I
by
heard
somebody else?
yeah, I think I heard a snippet of that because I always wanted to watch that documentary, but I haven't got around to it.
There's a documentary?
I think
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Oh, y'all know
And
I
I
don't.
think in a snippet it said that when you caught it, I think that's where you heard it from. Well, I mean, you didn't when
Yeah, I
it's
think I might have. Maybe it was like a commercial or something. But I do remember somebody saying that. She said, "Because I mean, what she
and
had
she rebounds back and forth,
because
so
wasn't it? It was Mark Anthony. Then right? No, I don't even know the order they came in. But yeah, but no, but it is because they came because it was like okay, boom from this one, boom to that one, boom to this one, boom. But those are like serial. What do you call those people? Is there a name for it?
Well, I know there's a serial. You can be a serial dater.
Yeah,
later.
but she wasn't
Where
even a
you
serial
put your
dater. She was of a serial relationship,
She was
married.
this right, right.
Because
Um,
she's married most. Well, no, who was she married to? Mark. She got married to Mark
she's
Anthony.
been married 3 times now, or 4 times.
Yeah, I think Derek Jeter. Is that the one she
Yeah, they
dated?
was engaged. They never got
They
married.
was engaged, but they never made it to the altar.
Yeah, yeah. They I think they had a long engagement, and then they broke up before they got.
And see, that's another thing about social media, and that's all out there. Then when you break up, you had all that stuff. People, that's all you do on social media, and you
Well,
got to. Well, they're famous, but other people.
I'm gonna say for the not the famous people, but the everyday people like
Yeah.
us. I'm just gonna put it out here. If we gotta watch all of your relationship stuff on social media, like the I'm here with my boo and I'm there with my boo and the pictures with the boo, I'm sorry, but when there's no longer a relationship, I want to know that too.
What
Cause,
happened, right?
cause it's so crazy, right? You will know when somebody, if you follow, like if they're your Facebook friend, you're like, picture. This we're here, we're there, we're here. Then it's like nothing. And then you start seeing like stuff disappearing, and then you're like, oh, I wonder what's happened.
See, now
And
I had to look it up. J Lo has been married 4 times,
ooh,
but she's been engaged 6 times.
whoa. Well, listen, man, I don't know. She's doing something right. She keep getting engagements.
She got six rings, but is that doing something right? That's the question.
This is the Women to Women show on the New Nation Network. We just real women having real conversation. Tonight we're talking about how long should you wait before moving on after a relationship. And so
I
we
had a
all
guy. I
and
had
so
a guy tell me, when my husband and I first we broke up and went back together several times. So he told me, he said, until you let your husband go, you're never going to be able to date. He was pursuing. I'm like, no, I'm over him.
Whoa.
And then
But
I had to sit there.
you mean y'all broke up before you got broke up off and on before you got married?
While we was married,
Oh, okay.
separated.
Separated. Okay.
Yeah. So during this one time, and then I didn't even know that in my spiritual walk,
Hmm.
I didn't really know that you wasn't supposed to because date in separation. I think I might have heard. I was like, well, we're not together. Who cares? And all that. But during that one of those times, I was dating someone, and I wasn't all the way divorced anyway. But he and I thought I liked him, but I thought it was just one of my walls, my mini walls that I put
Hmm.
up. But he told me you're still in love with your husband, and until you not in love with him, you can't date anyone.
Hmm.
And I was kind of like not put off, but I was just trying to show how wrong he was, but how right he was.
But I guess
Yeah.
were you dating him?
Hmm.
Oh yes, so he probably was like, listen, I ain't trying to get my heart broken.
Well, he was actually and then it was like what Sheila said. We ended up being friends,
Mhm.
and but he still liked me. But he says you're not over your husband, so you're not going to be able to date anyone. And he told me so. But I think
Now,
that was a good
look,
call. You know,
mhm.
Mhm.
Looking back on that, what do you think it was that he saw that led him to that conclusion?
he wanted to do much more with me, like building a relationship,
Mhm.
and I just kept shutting it down, like, oh no, I have to wait. Or he would say, well, let's go do this. Or at the time I had the boys. Well, why don't we take the boy? First of all, that's probably not it because I just wouldn't take my boys anywhere unless we were serious.
Mhm.
So I just kept giving him reasons why I couldn't do anything with him. And I had walls up and then I tried to, well, actually my a friend of mine said, well, you should do a Christmas gift. And I bought him the most craziest Christmas gift ever.
What you? What?
I just bought him like a pair of pants. I don't even know where, a pair of jeans. And they were like 5 sizes too big. I don't know even where I got.
Okay,
I
ready.
just they was and he pulled them out and he was like, wow.
So you didn't even ask him his size?
No. And I don't know why I bought that. And it was just like little stuff. Like it wasn't a carrying, but he was a nice guy. I thought I was, but thank God he wasn't really mad at me. But
Why you buy him jeans? Like why did?
I don't know. It was just the craziest gift ever. Why would I? And it was on a hint of my friend because I wasn't gonna buy him anything. And she said, "No, you should just buy him because you guys have been doing it." I'm like, "We ain't really doing nothing," but
You tell
that
me.
probably was it. So I was so unbothered. I was just like, and he probably could tell.
So just your vibe and how you were
Mm-hmm.
connecting.
Mm-hmm. But then I tried to because I did like him. I thought. I mean, I probably liked him as a friend,
Mm.
um, and I was trying to tell. That's an perfect example of trying to take care of your healing journey. And I wasn't even healed, and then I wasn't even divorced. So it was a whole bunch of different
It's a
things
bunch.
going on,
Yeah.
and I was going, and I'm trying to date, not knowing that I ain't really supposed to date because
I
I
mean,
wouldn't even divorce.
but that's a good point, right? Like you have a lot of people who will be like, I'm separated, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's still so much stuff that's left
Yeah.
like that's not taken care of, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But it's crazy that you bought him jeans like
I know.
that were
And when he
five
put, I
times
was so
too
embarrassed
big.
because when he pulled him,
Wow.
You
wait a minute.
have
And you know
you
where I
have
think
some of
I
the
got him
craziest
from?
stories.
You guys are gonna laugh about this. Sheila, especially. I don't know about you so much, Theo. I got him at Valley Fair.
You got what?
At Valley Fair. Sheila,
Not the
you
pants
gotta
with
know what.
Valley.
Valley Fair. What's Valley Fair?
Valley Fair was an extremely popular department store in the hood.
Yep.
Everybody went to the Valley Fair, and you didn't go there just to shop. You could go there to eat. It was a hangout spot.
Yeah.
It was a large department store.
Huh?
The parking lot was big as all get out.
Big.
So
In
Uh-huh.
that is
Jersey?
just where everybody
Right.
went.
It's
And
borderline Newark, Irvington. I don't know
yeah,
if it
Oh,
was.
yeah,
okay.
it
Yeah.
was in Irvington, but you're right, it's
Irvington.
still
Uh-huh.
on that borderline.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that was the place back in the day. And it was one of those places, especially when you had to go school shopping,
Mm-hmm.
you met everybody in Valley Fair because everybody was
Mm-hmm.
going school shopping
Mm-hmm.
then too, and you were showing off what you got from Valley Fair. That was the spot. But so for you to
Yeah,
say
you
it, that
imagine I went to
I know
Valley Fair
exactly
and
what
got,
you're talking about.
well, there was no thought in that at all. Just grab some.
Clearly there wasn't, because it
Oh,
was
wow.
also an economical
Well,
place to
yeah,
shop, which is one of the
there was
places
no thought
why it was
because
so.
not only because of that store, but because you bought jeans that didn't even fit them.
Mm-mm. And I just grabbed them. I don't even know.
So, so, so how can people heal, right? Like what advice would you give someone, um, that is like needs to heal before they jump into like their next thing?
Get to know yourself. Like you gotta sometimes you gotta cut people off. And the best thing I could say is just sit with yourself. Now you might not have to do it 30 days, or just take some time and sit with yourself. Journal, write down what do you think was wrong in this relationship? What do you think? Like you were saying, just get some points, just jot them down. But that's all the part of that's what you would think you would need to do. Just don't jump into another relationship because you really got to get to know yourself. And as us being women of a certain age and taking the steps to take care of ourselves, we found that out. That's really important. Self-care, like Sheila said from the beginning, you have to take care of yourself.
Hmm. So I got Trey's book here. It's
Mm-hmm.
healing time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this when we were talking about being friends, she said, let him this is day 9 out of 30.
Oh, oh, it's a 30-day journal.
Yeah, it's a 30-day book. So it's healing time. And there's like accepting the fact that it's over, healing is the process. But I mean, just a disclaimer for anybody that is watching. This book is really for restoring hope in women after infidelity, right? But it works, I think, for other things too. But the thing she said about friends said, let him go completely this time. You cannot be his friend. Do you think that he deserves your time after all the times he played with your mind? So this is definitely from the perspective, of someone that has, their relationship didn't end too well, right? But if you think about it, even if you're coming out of something that ends amicably, you still might need to go through that process of just not communicating with a person for a little while. Because what's that song by Deborah Cox? We can't be friends because I'm still in love
Yeah,
with you.
yeah,
That was you, Regina, with the guy that told you still
yeah,
do,
Yeah.
yeah.
right? Look what so look, Gina said, but sometimes the fear of being alone or lonely rushes the process of healing. Oh my God, I wish Gina was here to elaborate on this.
She needs Pookieism. We need some Pookies.
But no, like think about it. But
But no,
sometimes
that's true.
the fear
That's
of
true.
being alone or lonely rushes the healing process, which is so true. Because I think I've been there where you tell yourself you healed because you ready, because you just want to be on to the next thing. Right? Oh my God, Gina, where are you? Because we really need to elaborate on that. But what do you guys think about that statement? But sometimes the fear of being alone or lonely rushes the process of healing. That is really
Powerful.
powerful
And I
because
think that
sometimes we
also,
think we're healed, but we're not.
right. And I think that also gets back to people saying, those that feel that they need to be in a relationship, or they constantly want to be in a relationship, is that there's either that overt or underlying fear of not being alone, of being lonely. And you're misinterpreting it as being alone, right? But you aren't allowing yourself to heal because that fear is taking a hold of you.
Yeah. And then this, sometimes people don't want to ask the hard questions about ourselves to track the patterns, which is one of the reasons where after my last breakup, I went to therapy because I was like, yo, little girl, this is gonna be the last time you go through this because it's true. And I learned so much about myself. Like the biggest thing I learned, and you guys have heard me say this before, I was so in love with being in love that I was just staying in stuff because I was in love with the idea of just being in love and being in a relationship. And I think that also is part of it too, that fear of being alone or lonely, it does put you in a space of rushing the healing process because now, or staying in something that you shouldn't stay in,
Right.
which
Right.
is why
Now you're slowing the healing process.
yeah,
Right. Right.
which is sometimes where God will be the one to be like, okay, in my case, I'm certain, I'm just talking about me. God was like, okay, this chick, like, she's really getting on my nerves, like, she can't get it. Right? So, he's like, you know what? This is gonna hurt, daughter, but because I will say, I want to say, probably out of most of the relationships I've been with, the guy is the one that has ended the relationship, not me. And it always was like you're the best thing or you're good or whatever. It's you, it's not me kind of situation. But
Mm,
sometimes, ladies, the rejection or when somebody walks out of your life, it is for your protection.
yep. Yep.
Right? But that is so true. Like sometimes we don't want to act, and sometimes we don't want to ask the hard questions about to the person, not just about ourselves.
Now, there
So
was one time that I protected myself from a relationship. Of course, I was younger. I was 19. Um, I was in college. I came home for the summer, and my boyfriend at the time wrote me a letter. But he had been cheating on me in college. So he wrote me a letter. You know how old that is. People writing you letters. Like, I just really dated myself.
people still write letters. They
Well,
still
not
write
like that. They'll send you a text.
but you know
Yeah,
what
that's
is true is that people will break up with you over text now. It's crazy. I know some people who
No,
have they said people
he
broke up with them over text.
yeah. He didn't break up with me. He told me, he promised that when fall came back, it was gonna be better. He wasn't gonna cheat no more. He loved me, this, that, and the other. And I was sitting there and I was like, you know what? Um, I'm not about to do this. And ironically, the phone had rang, and I wanted to go to a school in California. That's how I got to California, and it was a school in California. So you know what? Maybe that was God. But and they were trying to recruit me again. And I told my dad after I read that letter, I ran and told my dad because he said, the phone was for me. I said, you know what? I want to transfer. And his thing was for me to go in state to close,
Mm-hmm.
1 year, and then I could transfer. He said because California was too far at 18 to be, and it would take them too long to get to me. Long story short, I ran. I dropped it. I went to California, and I didn't
That's
give
where you
him an
met your husband,
answer.
right?
No, it wasn't my husband. It was my college
No,
boyfriend.
no. I
It
said,
was
didn't
my
you meet your husband in
Oh,
California?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I met him, but guess what? A year after I got to California, this dude repurposed or resurfaced and found
Mm.
me. Why he come on a college campus and did the same thing that he did after he found
But
me?
But you know what the problem is though also is just back to what Gina said, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like we sometimes have to ask ourselves questions, but I think also the one thing I think most people have to realize too as part of your healing journey, like is yeah, you may have some part in the breakup, but when it comes to cheating, like it's not
Mm-hmm.
about you. It is
Right.
not about
No, it definitely it wasn't. But at that
at
age
that
back then,
age.
I didn't know, and it
Yeah.
hurt my heart because my RA had to tell me that he hit on her. I was like, "You got to be kidding me!"
And so for anyone that's watching, this is the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. We're talking about moving on, and how long should you wait to date after a relationship? But we were just talking about, someone cheating on Regina when she was 19. But for anyone that has experienced it, this is the other
Mm-hmm.
thing Trey says in her book. We do not, it wasn't your fault. We do not have control over how another person behaves. You did nothing wrong to be treated this way. It was his decision to be in a committed relationship with you. It was his decision to be unfaithful.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. Like, why would you do that? And I think about, not recently, but
Mhm.
years ago, I used to think about, why would you come all the way across country from Jersey to California just cheat on me? You know?
But that's another reason
Selfish.
why we have to really think about. I mean, for everybody, like Sheila said,
Uh-huh.
is it for everybody? The amount of time you wait is going to be different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you could meet somebody that knocks you off your feet, right, and
Mm-hmm.
you ready to start over. But I think the one thing is you gotta. For me, it's like you gotta do it differently, right? So
Mm-hmm.
for me, as I try to re-enter this whole dating scene, right? I'm going to be intentional about, how I go about dating, how I go about meeting the person, how we connect. The communication is key, right? Like, what I'm going to accept, what I'm not, right? But also be very intentional about, like, you get a clean slate until you do something that says you don't have a clean slate anymore, right?
Right.
But what happens, I think, also is when we don't take the time to heal and the process the breakup, we take baggage into the next relationship, and then
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the person pays for it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because for the woman that, and that goes for the woman that somebody cheated on you and you decide to stay with them. Once you make that decision, man, you got to be cool with it, because otherwise you're gonna be going to this dude everywhere he go, because you are so intent in thinking that whenever he's not in your sight, he's cheating on you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that's why that healing process is so important,
Yes.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
because but I think for young, um and that's why I think, like, you're a mentor, you mentor young women, right? So I think that's why it's so important for older women to mentor younger women, because you do get to share some of your experiences with them, and you get to help them, hopefully, when they go through these things. Because when you go through these things at a young age, it sometimes will determine how you deal with all relationships going forward,
Mhm.
right? Like, you might develop this spirit of, I don't trust anybody, right? Because one person cheated on you, so now everybody you date, you thinking they're gonna cheat on you. So
Yeah. But there's
that
this
that's
program that we have for our girls, my girls. It's called Love Waits, not Love Waits, Love. It's a but they did that last year. They did the domestic part of it because these young
mm.
girls can be in domestic relationships
Oh
in high
yeah.
school and stuff. So then this year they're supposed to come back and do a healthy relationship. Love Talks,
Mm.
Love. I can't remember the name of the organization, but it's really good and it's for teenagers.
Mm.
Love Speaks. I think that's what it is.
Oh,
Love
okay.
Speaks.
But Sheila, you sit on the board of a domestic violence, right?
Yes,
Okay.
and while we're in March, but February was teen dating and
Mm,
domestic violence month, because what statistics are showing is that there are a lot of teens that are getting caught up in domestic violence
Mhm.
situations, and I actually kind of liken it to what was happening, I'll say back in the old days, but many decades ago, where there wasn't a name for it, right?
mm,
So you could talk to someone who is 70, 80 years old who had been in a domestic violence relationship,
mm,
and they will tell you that, it was commonplace, or it was going on in their household, so it wasn't spoken about, and I never knew that it was called domestic violence. Well, it's the
mm,
same thing with teenagers, because as we were growing up, if a little boy liked you, he would hit you and then run away, right? So you disguise it and say, oh, love taps, right? Or love
yeah.
pat.
Mhm.
um, and what's happening now is that it's being disguised as love.
Mm,
So he's jealous. He doesn't want any other guy talking to me because he loves me.
mm.
If he's putting his hands on me, it's because he loves me.
Mhm.
He's
It's
so controlling and want to know where I'm at because he loves me.
right. So there's a level of misunderstanding that's there because they're interpreting it as something that it is not.
Mm,
And I think a lot of it has to do with the social media, right? A lot of
mm,
it has to do with lack of self-esteem, especially if you're not getting that love and that encouragement at home. You're finding it elsewhere, so you don't know what real love is. And the chances are also great that you don't have a representation of that in your home, because you are either in a home where there is domestic violence, or you're in a home where there's a single parent, so you don't see
mm.
what it's like for
Yeah,
couples to be loving and
yeah.
affectionate and true partners. So they're interpreting what's going on with them as something that is good, when
Mm,
in reality it's not. And you also have it on the reverse side too, because it's not just the guys that are committing the domestic violence, it's the girls. They're
yeah.
finding these guys that they think that they can mold and push around, and then they're actually being abusive towards them as well, because
Right.
they think that that's what they're supposed to be doing, that they have to show the girls have to show their strength, and
Mm,
this is how they do it. I'm a strong woman, so no man is going to boss me around and to show you how strong I am. He's going to do it what I say because he loves me that much.
mm. And it's crazy because the one thing is I say to women, like, listen, I don't condone a man hitting a woman, but if you hit a man, don't be surprised if he haul up and hit you back.
Yeah,
Yes,
you should keep your hands to yourself, both
Everybody,
sides.
at all
everybody should
times.
Mhm.
keep to
Mhm.
themselves. All right. So, oh my, we're at the top of the hour. So I was gonna ask one more question, which is, have you ever taken a long break from dating after a breakup?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, I know that I have, because I have not actually been in a lot of serious relationships in my lifetime. Um, it was either that either relationships were short lived and I was by myself for quite some time,
Mm-hmm.
or the relationship was long term. And then once the relationship ended, then I still had time to myself because I was deliberate and intentional about it. Whenever I broke up, my relationship with someone break up, whether I broke up or they broke up, or it was mutual or it just ended up dying. I never found it was necessary to jump back into a relationship. I've had friends, I've had sexual partners, but I was deliberate about not jumping into another relationship because I knew I needed to take that time for myself.
Okay.
And I could definitely separate having sex with somebody from having a relationship. That wasn't an issue for me.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a difference, right? Because we talking about, when we talk about relationships in this context, it's like like it's a one-on-one, you guys are committed, like whatever. It's not just friends with benefits, or we're just gonna hook up when we, need to be intimate. What about you, Regina? Have you ever taken a long break from dating after a breakup?
I probably have. I know I have, because I was not one of those girls that really, after a relationship, um had another guy pursue me right away. So maybe that was it. Now, and I'm like, I didn't really have a lot of relationships. I had a lot of hookups, and that was on me.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
that's the other thing, though, right? It's
yeah.
like it depends on how you define how you define relationship.
Mhm. So it was to meet my needs, and then after that, I was like, well, I don't have really no use for, I don't want to say it like that, but it wasn't a relationship
Like,
type of
so
thing.
is this a portion of the show that somebody got their kid in the room, they need to tell them to leave?
No, I said it as discreetly as I could say it, but
Listen,
well, look,
listen,
Sheila started it, so she started it.
I was gonna say this is the Gen X
But look,
conversation, so we just gonna keep it
yeah,
real, right?
I'm taking
We
on
we all
Gina's
have
role as Pookie. I'm Pooking in it.
we all
You're
have
Pookie
situations
tonight.
where
Yeah,
we have all had situations where we just hooked
yeah.
up, right? Like I said, like I kicked it with a dude for 5 years. Like we hung out, we were friends. Whatever he was doing when he wasn't with me, right? But we would go to movies, plays, dinner, everything. But we were kicking it, right? But it was mutual.
Yes, yes, a difference when you decide that's what you're going to do now,
it was mutual.
relationship. Well, and then by the time in between all that, by the time I met someone, it was always a long time. Now, I wonder if that, deep down, you don't know if that has something to do with, if you go to the root cause, having all those hookups or whatever you want to call. I wonder if that had. Now I just thought about that. Like, I wonder if that had something to do with.
I mean, it could be. I think also, right, when you get to a certain age or stage, right, I think some people just get to the point where they're like, I'm good. Like if I have a companion, I have a companion. If I don't, like, and versus someone that wants someone to, like, I would love to be, with someone, a companion, we can hang out, whatever. But I wouldn't say I'm as pressed as I was when I was before my
Yeah,
healing,
me
before I
either.
did my healing, right? In my younger days, but it is interesting that
Yeah,
you do think about like what I did like, is that why I moved the way I move now, right? Because of how I moved back then.
Now this is a funny story. I'm not gonna say. Well, I don't even remember the guy's name anyway. But I told the friend that you met of mine at the gala. I told him about a situation when I what I did, and he was like, "Did you hurt the guy's?" I was like, "I don't know." I was like in my 20s. What does it matter? We were
Well,
just
hell,
talking about.
you still hurt his feelings.
No, but to the point that I I basically did my thing, and the guy's like, "You want my number?" I was like, "No, I don't need your number." And so I told him that. He called he said, "That guy probably on crack right now." I said, "No, he not." He said, he called his cousin up and told, he called his cousin. He stopped in the middle track. He said, "I can't believe you did that." I'm like,
But he
first of
was
all, we
young
talked.
too, so he probably just
Yeah,
bounced
I'm
back.
like, but you know what the thing is? A guy can do it to a girl, but a girl can't do it to a guy. That's what I got out of that conversation.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, it's a double standard always.
right. So he called his cousin and told the cousin, and the cousin basically said the same thing. How the guy doing? I'm like, that was like 30. I'm like, I
Because you
don't
know what?
know.
Because they're not used to it. They're not used to it. Like even
And that's what he wasn't. He wasn't. I mean, he had a long. And then they laughed at me. They clowned me for a minute, and I was like, "Well, you guys do it." Like,
or think about it in the movies, like right. I'm gonna just use the movies, right? But I'm sure it actually happens in real life too, where you know you get up, you put your clothes on, and they're like, "You leaving?" And you're like, "Yeah, right."
Yeah,
and basically
yeah.
that's what happened. And I said, "Bye." Like,
So that's what happened.
yeah.
That's what
So
happened.
it is what it is. But I but you know what? If I would have took, well, where was it gonna go? It wasn't gonna go anywhere. So I just
But you
kept it
said you was
real.
19, right?
Somewhere, probably, I probably was 20 or 21. It's still the
Yeah, so
same.
you was young.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But honestly, where would it gone? We just played this head game,
You was
ducking and
young.
dodging. You know, oh, I'm gonna call. I'm not gonna call. You sitting by the phone, and that was one thing I didn't do. I never sat by the phone and waited for anybody to call. I'm like, you don't call, I'm out. Way
But
before a
Right.
block thing happened, you know, when there was phone, you know, I just was out doing my own thing with my friends. I wasn't sitting around waiting for you to call. You call, you don't, you don't. Now, it's more serious relationships, it hurt, but you know, this we just hanging out type stuff. No, I'm good. I'm
I
out.
mean, I think there's so many different variables to relationships where I literally just feel like now, and we're gonna do our closing remarks as well. But I really feel like now, you know, there's so many variables to it that, like Sheila said when we started off, right? It for everybody is going to be a different scenario. Because I would say right now, if someone would ask me, "Oh, why haven't you dated so long?" Because I haven't met anybody, and
That's worth their
everybody,
time.
and
You're not
everybody,
playing games.
and everyone said no, but I even haven't met anybody, and everybody's like, "Oh, you got to go on dating sites," and I'm like, "Well, that's how you're meeting people. That's how people are meeting people nowadays." And I'm like, "Oh, okay," but right, and I think for some people, it's not even because they don't want to date. It's just that you're not in a space or you're not somewhere where you're meeting people.
Right.
My thing is, I just want peace. It is just too
Yeah,
much.
but
It's too
that's the
much
yeah.
drama, and I just can't.
Nobody got time for games.
Yeah, like if you're not coming for real, then and I'm like you, I don't really meet, but the one time that I do meet, it's just a whole bunch of game or
But
playing
you
cat
know,
and mouse, and then these guys like, you
but
you
you don't
all
be
got
liking
one,
the guys that like you.
huh?
You don't be liking the people that like you.
That sounds like another show topic there.
Why she said you don't be like,
You don't like. You be like, oh, I don't like him because he do this. I don't like. Oh, like, you,
okay, that's true. That's true.
like you want peace, but they don't even get a chance to show you whether or not they gonna take away your peace. You just be like, you don't even give them a chance to figure out. You just be like, he called too much. No, right?
Well, I'll just shut my little self down. So yeah. And she's so serious. She kind of like, huh? What you say? that is true. But there has been ones that just play games. Like even before I can get to my little cutoff, I don't like you done all this craziness. When I was on those sites, I was like, I don't have time. Hello, beautiful. And then if you do respond then they go ghost you or don't whatever.
Yeah.
Craziness. That's why I couldn't take them apps. I was like, oh, that was too much nerve wracking. Just not saying I won't ever go, but every time I think that to start back up, I get anxiety. I'm like, oh, I got to deal with something. I'm like, I can't do it yet. I'm like, I'm not ready.
Well, it is.
I'm waiting for like my friend. I'm waiting for aisle 5 in the grocery store.
Well, you got to go to a grocery store that you don't normally go to.
Oh, let's go over there and stand by the
They
eggs and have a
do it
real
too.
conversation. It's real conversations hanging out at those eggs.
I guess-
I'm for real. Like I don't pass about 3 people in the store, and it's like people be having conversation, and it be a man and woman. I mean, I've seen that. Do you? They
But
have
you
a
know
real.
what? Because you know why? Because they started not putting the prices of the by the eggs now.
But you
You
can
gotta
meet you a
wait till you
man while you're over there discussing the eggs now. Gotta look at that hand and make sure he ain't attached.
Oh my God. But that's the other thing, right? You got to do all the checks, right? Like you got to be like, put your hands out, right? Right.
And
All
sometimes that's
right,
not the
ladies.
truth, but
Well,
sometimes they don't even wear the ring. You
mhm,
gotta do your research, your
yeah.
database. But
Let's see.
anyway.
Now you gotta have the friend that is the. Everybody has one of those friends
Yeah,
that
the
you
detector.
give her the information and she
Hmm.
come back with everything.
Yep.
You be like, did it, and then she be like, well, he did it. I be like, oh,
Uh,
and they not a real detective. They just know how to find out information.
Mm.
But this has been a woman to woman show. We thank you for joining us. We just had a good time tonight. We talking about this topic because this is a really interesting topic. How
Yeah,
long should you wait to date after a breakup? And I think it's different for everybody, but I think we had some enlightening conversations. And
yeah,
but especially like what Gina said, like this still right. Sometimes the fear of being alone or lonely rushes the process of healing. So I would say, and I think we all would agree, is before you move on to any new relationship, even work relationships, you gotta make sure, even
Mm-hmm.
church relationships, right? The church hurt,
hmm
the work hurt. You gotta make sure that you take care of your heart and that you heal in the way that you need to heal in order to move on in a healthy way. So we're gonna say
Yep.
goodnight because we are beyond our time. It's been real. We thank you for joining us on the Woman to Woman show on the New You Nation Network. We are here every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please like,
yeah.
subscribe, join us next week for another episode of the Woman to Woman show at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Good night.